Remember that amazing little cafe you discovered last summer? Or that perfect hiking spot you heard about? With the Overlook mobile app, you can create personalized lists of places you've been and want to go, and always see everything on a map. Share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family, or keep your secret spots private for you. The best part? No ads cluttering your lists, and no one selling your interests or travel data. Download the free app at overlookmaps.com and check out overlookmaps.com/Nashville to see some CityCast lists on a map and in your pocket. Overlookmaps.com. Collect and share the places that matter to you. Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. There's a lot to cover this week, y'all, but lucky for us, District 29 Metro Council member Tasha Ellis is here, along with our executive producer Whitney Pasterek, to help make sense of it all. We've got updates on the Tesla tunnel, heated rezoning debates at Metro Council, and a brand new song from Haley Williams that's giving us hope for Nashville's future. It's Friday, August 8th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Well, folks, we've got to begin with the Tesla tunnel update. I think we need to actually have some theme music whenever we refer to the tunnels from now on.
I think it's going to be a recurring segment.
I believe so. Over years.
Just make sure boring is in the lyrics.
That's right. Last week, Elon Musk's Boring Company was given a parking lot next to First Baptist Church, Capitol Hill by the State Building Commission. We still don't know anything more about their plans than we did then. Mayor Freddie O'Connell and Metro Council certainly have questions, more than 60 of them, in fact, which were compiled into a letter sent to Boring and obtained by the Tennessee Lookout.
Yes, y'all should really all go over to the Lookout site and read these. It's kind of an amazing document. Tasha, are any of your questions in there? Did you contribute to this document?
I did not contribute to the document. However, I think the author of the document did take one of my questions, which was, if a emergency situation happens, how are emergency personnel going to get into this tunnel? Because I'm just like a rock throw from the airport, right? If I were to go down this tunnel in Tesla and something were to happen, how would the fire truck be able to come in and get me? I cannot imagine our governor not having that same concern, given how much he cares about Tennessee. It's very disappointing that all we as local officials can do is ask questions. And I feel like back in 24 or whatever year it was, when whomever came into the mayor's office then, mentioned a tunnel, just the possibility of this happening should have set off, I feel, alarm bells, and people should have been notified of the potential. There may not have been much we could have done. However, knowing, 4 days before they start setting up a fence around the site and saying that this is a go, I think we should have gotten more details. And the main thoroughfare out of my area is Murfreesboro Pike, right? I was in support of the Choose How You Move plan because of the smart signals and then adding the 24/7 bus route down Murfreesboro Pike. And so my question was, did that meeting happen before council decided to vote unanimously to put Choose How You Move on the ballot? Because I think that would have been a factor if we knew the state was going to eminent domain and, bore a tunnel, as one of my colleagues says, like a mole down the middle of Murfreesboro Pike.
It's interesting what you're saying about this meeting that happened, over a year ago. They came in and pitched this to the mayor's office. What we've heard since the jump, and we talked about it in our first show about this, is that a lot of people come in and pitch a lot of stuff to the mayor's office in a city like Nashville. And it is very hard to tell what's legitimate and what's not. And I want to mention some of these other questions in the document, to your point, Tasha, about Murfreesboro. How will the digging impact our roads and our right-of-ways? What happens if the tunnels flood? What happens if the project gets started and is abandoned? If someone is hurt, who is liable? And then there's my personal question, which remains, what happens if toxic sludge from the tunnel, which has a documented history of there being toxic sludge in other cities, what happens if toxic sludge gets into our drinking water?
All valid questions. All valid.
So I don't know that if Mayor O'Connell had said, yes, I'm interested in this tunnel idea, tell me more, that they necessarily would have had answers to any of those questions back then. Because to me, it feels like they're making this up as they go along.
I would have thought, as a member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, that I would have at least gotten wind of this, if not, via email on the council floor. But then when I asked the question to our beloved Sean Parker, of the chair of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, he said that he wasn't aware, but then he also wasn't, disappointed in the mayor's response. So it's like, here we have a building on fire and everyone is walking around like, yeah, it'll be okay. Maybe it won't happen, but guess what? Got a few questions.
I can see where certain people are at with this to some extent, that like, we don't want the big stick of the state to come down and hit us. And so I think there's some treading on eggshells, much the same way that people were treading on eggshells around the ICE dragnets and the mass deportations back in May. There's a little bit of like, do we want the eye of Sauron looking at us more?
I still have that expectation of full transparency when it comes to dealings of this administration.
Well, speaking of gathering information and maybe learning from it, you brought up Vegas already with Tesla tunnels that already exist. The Nevada Current is reporting that the Boring Company is seeking regulatory approval to bring its Teslas above ground, where they directly compete with ride shares and buses. And given that our rideshare drivers here in Nashville are already worried about the impact this proposed tunnel may have on their incomes, that seems like it might be a red flag for some folks.
Yeah, that's very alarming for me as well, though, just to hear that. That's my first hearing of that. It's like, whose pockets are really getting lined? Because as I understand it, the airport authority knew, and they know a lot more details than we as the public and even me as a council member have. And you know how they've changed the parking and the drop off for the rideshare drivers. But now you have, a tunnel for Teslas, and then the potential. I mean, it's like, it's all very, very odd.
Bloomberg has published this article titled Elon Musk's Boring Company is turning into a $900 million flop. He's been at this for over a decade. And they said when he launched it a decade ago, Elon, quote, vowed to build a futuristic ultra-fast underground hyperloop as a revolutionary solution to the world's soul-destroying traffic problems. And he raised more than $900 million of capital. Do we think that the announcement here could just be a way to raise more capital?
Highly likely. One of the questions that I have, there's two mixed-use developments that are actually going up in my district right now. And so the drill, because, Nashville is on a rock. And so any sort of drilling that happens, people feel that in their homes, right?
Yeah. Oh, Marie, will you read that bit from the Bloomberg article about what it's like in Bastrop?
Oh, yes. On a recent visit to Bastrop, Texas, a boring machine was making the ground shake as it dug underneath a dual-lane road cutting through Musk's growing corporate campus that's surrounded by farmland about 30 miles outside of Austin. When there aren't traffic jams, a steady stream of trucks barrel down the smog-laden road at 60 miles an hour. So that sounds really fun. Can y'all imagine that on Murfreesboro Pike?
That sounds horrific. Also, when it comes to the drilling, I know when there is a drilling that's taking place, the developer, the construction crew has to file a permit that says this is the time of day that the drilling is going to happen. homes, still settle even after the first 2 or 3 years. And so sometimes your drywall will have cracks in it from the foundation still settling. And when you see cracks in the wall, like that sets off alarm bells for a homeowner because like that decreases the value of your home. And so I experienced this for the first time as a council member with one of my constituents reaching out and letting me know that she had cracks in her drywall. And so what I found out is that you can call the fire marshal's office and report, the claim of the blasting having gone above the decibels that they say. But then also you can request prior to the construction taking place that the fire marshal comes out and does a home inspection at no cost so that the condition of your home, the foundation before all this blasting and things like that start. Is that going to be in place with this tunnel? Should businesses and homeowners off of Murfreesboro Pike or within, say, a 200-foot radius, should they be calling down to the fire marshal's office and having, inspectors come out and check their home and have it on record? Should they be upping their homeowner's warranty to include man-made disasters? I mean, there is a lot of preparation that I think we as elected officials should be communicating out to our residents. The one thing that I have been able to do is file a records request because I want to start from the beginning. Like, I want to review any and all communications with the keyword, the boring company in it. I want to know if anyone at NDOT knew about this, if anyone at planning knew about this, if anyone at water, because our water tables are really going to be screwed, even if it goes well.
Wait, breaking news that we're getting literally as we're taping this. The Nashville Business Journal has just released an article saying that officials at the Boring Company and Music City Center are now in talks to add a convention center station into the company's proposed 10-mile tunnel. David Buss, a vice president of the company, addressed the Convention Center Authority's August 7th board meeting to discuss the project. Charles Starks, president and CEO of Music City Center, calls the talks exploratory. And to that point, there was no proposal for the board to vote on at the meeting. But this is now confirming what I think a lot of us suspected, which is this tunnel is going to start up there on Rosa Parks above the Capitol, go down Rosa Parks to that roundabout, right? On the corner of Music City Center and 8th Avenue South.
Up 8th Ave and then across Murfreesboro Pike.
And now there might be a station at the Music City Center if they get there without anything collapsing.
So this emphasizes even more that it's primarily just for the tourists, right?
Yes.
Because the convention center just recently said that they were thinking about expanding because they don't have enough space to host all the different conferences that people want to have in Nashville.
Connected. And does anyone at this point now think it was a coincidence that Cameron Sexton was trying to take over the convention center and airport authority?
Yeah.
And let them have it. They want to also take over Nashville and dissolve the Nashville charter.
Right.
It's like, what happened to the mayor that wanted to have Mooreville, Las Vegas?
I don't think the mayor has any control over this.
But can he be a little bit more bolder in his outcry that says that we don't want this in our city?
I think he's worried that they'll put him under federal investigation and Andy Ogles will come show up with a pitchfork and a torch.
It is time that we take off our guards and fight. Fight for what we believe in. We need people to stand up at all levels and say, no, we are not going to allow you to continue to run over us and trample over us and treat us like shit. Like, we are Nashvillians. We want to be here. And Mayor, yes, we do want to stay, but we want you to fight, fight, fight.
Turning to Metro Council, this week's meeting featured a tale of two rezonings. Council member Roland Horton is seeking to apply an urban design overlay in the Nations that, according to the Nashville Banner, is designed to allow more housing options for more people, increase walkability and foot traffic for local businesses, and protect the neighborhood's tree canopy and stormwater infrastructure. This passed on second reading, and more amendments are expected before third readings.
This is part of addressing our housing crisis. Councilmember Horton is hoping the plan will bring in more triplexes and quadplexes, but it also allows for accessory dwelling units and detached accessory dwelling units, aka DADUs. But it's also going to prevent new short-term rentals so that those spaces will be dedicated to actual people who live here who need housing. I also think it's interesting that this came in the same week as a post on the Nashville subreddit that was titled, "I feel like I can't afford to live here, but also I can't afford to move anywhere else." We're clearly at this housing breaking point. But Tasha, you voted no.
I did.
Why?
Because I do not want to make gentrification great again.
But the nation's is already gentrified.
And those people that came in and gentrified the nations are saying, we are closed. We do not want any more homes built in our area. We are full.
If we can't build more houses in places like this where it's already a built up character, it's not like your district where people still have beautiful lots and ranch houses and stuff like that. This is a place where everybody's really already compressed into a tight space. So if that's not the right place to put density, then what is?
Well, I will say there are still folks in the nations that live in what's called, quote, short and stouts. These are people that, stayed the fight against people that were wanting to come in and build $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 properties on a quarter of an acre, right? Those people are just feeling overwhelming defeat. For me, affordable housing looks like keeping people in their home at a rate where they're not going underwater to pay those bills. There are a lot of open spaces outside of the downtown core where homes can be built. I mean, and not saying that I want any of this type of density housing in my area, given our character. There is 12 acres for sale. However, I think that the current growth rate of housing is slowing down for Nashville.
What if we built different types of housing, though? If the growth rate of housing of these 3-4 bedroom, 2,500 square foot new builds is slowing down, could that not indicate perhaps that people are being priced out of that market and might be looking for something more in a 1,200 square foot 2-bedroom range? Couldn't it mean that people are open to more options like cottage courts and this missing middle housing that we've heard so much about?
Oh, please don't say missing middle.
I did. I said it, Tasha.
That drives me nuts.
This discussion's consuming our city right now, and you're on the kind of other side of it. So I really do want to know, okay, we push this kind of development outside of the urban core to, let's say, Antioch. But the council members down there, Joy Stiles has already said she doesn't want a single other apartment complex built in her district. So now where does it go?
Because we're at capacity. So a couple of things. So my issue with the term missing middle, when you consider 60% AMI, right? You're talking about people that have an average household income of $90,000 or more. So are we saying to hell with our, teachers and our firefighters who, first year start out making $50,000, $60,000 a year?
I think what we're doing is we're saying firefighters and teachers can move to Smyrna or Murfreesboro.
That's
or
what's been happening because it's not affordable right now.
But we don't have anything for them to buy that is affordable. What if we built things that were affordable?
So let's think who is going to be able to afford to come in and build a multiplex infrastructure that has 12 units on an acre? And why would they give you discounted rent when across the street a 400 square foot apartment can go at $1,500 a month? It's almost like a bait and switch. It's like most people that are renting right now, they're renting because they can't afford 20% of a down payment on a $500,000 home or a $400,000 home, which is the average cost of a home.
And this is why we need to build smaller and more accessible homes that people can buy. I mean, full disclosure, I bought my 1,400 square foot house 11 years ago for $250,000. And that was an attainable home for a 40-year-old single woman working on the low end of the music business. We don't build that size house anymore unless it is on the far margins of our city. Let's talk about Marie. You live in a new build, right? It's like a 46 unit condo complex.
Yes.
And that was affordable for you on a single woman's touring comedian salary.
That's right. I was finally able to buy something at age 43. But I will say, there's 46 units. There's 7 units empty right now. As we're having this housing crisis, I do think it's so expensive to rent these particular places also.
Are the places that are open owned by landlords who are trying to rent them out?
Yes.
For me, that's a red flag, right? Because we do know that corporations come in, or at least let me speak for District 29. We do have corporations that come in and buy homes. And in our case, it's buying out older homes, refurbishing them, and then renting them out long term. Let's back this conversation up a little bit and let's talk about what comes along with growth.
We ain't got time for all that, girl. It's a 20-minute podcast.
Can we at least talk about the sidewalks or the overcrowding in the schools?
We will have you on for a whole other episode about
Yes, absolutely.
In the meantime, there was something good that happened at council, yes?
Yes, we did have something good. It was very exciting. So in South Nashville, Councilmember David Benton has been pushing legislation to allow a logistics warehouse on Franklin Limestone Road. And neighbors have been pushing back hard, saying that industrial traffic on that road is already bad enough. Benton announced on Tuesday that the bills would be indefinitely deferred. Whitney, both of these bills generated a lot of public comment. What did you notice about the folks who came out to speak?
Well, I thought they were both great examples of neighbors coming together kind of across the board. The Franklin Limestone folks, and Tasha, I'm sure you were familiar with this discussion because, again, I think that is District 29 adjacent. Those folks have been showing up for weeks.
They have. Here is the thing, though. I was initially in support of this legislation because it was a good bill. It was a good deal, rather. And it put restrictions in place on that parcel that are not currently in place. But the key to my change in vote or change of mind was the constituents that came out and made their voices heard, which was different from the people that were coming out speaking against Mr. Horton's massive rezoning. I think he even claimed in the Nashville Scene report that when someone asked him, have you talked to the powers that be about this? His response was, I am the powers that be. That was awful. When we talk about the powers that be are the people that live in these areas that are immediately impacted by the choices that we as council members makes when it comes to rezoning properties.
I love to hear that those Franklin Limestone Road folks changed your point of view on this, because that was some of the most impressive organizing that I've seen in this city in a long time. I mean, one speaker mentioned that they got out there and collected 1,400 signatures on a petition opposing the project, with over 900 of those signatures coming from people who live within Councilmember Benton's district, and that he was elected with a little more than 900 votes total.
And they had yard signs.
Well, yard signs don't vote, Tasha, but I say more of that, please. Meanwhile, in the nations, Councilmember Horton, he spent 18 months on community engagement for the urban design overlay and had apparently over 20 meetings, which is also amazing. I've had stuff get pushed through here in my neighborhood with way less engagement than that. But to your point, Tasha, what I noticed was in that long line of residents who came out to speak in opposition to the overlay, almost all of them said that they hadn't heard anything about the project until they got a letter from Metro Planning in their mailboxes. So, Tasha, when you're trying to reach folks in your district,
yes,
what do you do?
Well, let me back up a little. So when you're initially running for office, you're raising money to help you communicate with voters. So you're able to afford people to go out and knock on doors. You have mailers, you have money for digital. And so that outreach is massive. Once you become an elected official, all that goes away unless you're independently wealthy. So I know for me, I try to have my community meetings at the community center. And the tactic that I use is printing out flyers and taking it to Compton's, which is a locally owned grocery store, still has meats, 5 for $25.99, no longer 5 for $20. They allow me to put flyers in the shoppers' bags so they know. And then, of course, I share it out on all of the various social media, or on Facebook and the different neighborhood networks and things like that. So I will say that it is a really big effort that's needed to continuously communicate with folks. And despite the 20 meetings that he had, I can understand why some folks just don't know, because they're working. Some people are working 2-3 jobs to survive. And not everyone uses a single social media platform. I think that that's just a lesson for people in the future that decide to run for council. Be sure that you keep up that same outreach effort and level of outreach that you had when you were running, when you get into office as well.
Last thing we want to talk to you about, Tasha, loud cars. Marie?
Pow, pow, pow. Tasha, you are proposing a new sound ordinance aimed at cracking down on loud cars. Please tell us more, since I am clearly fed up.
I heard 2 last night when I was sleeping, and that's the thing is, so I live alone. And so when I hear a car that goes by and has this really loud altered exhaust, and it makes me feel like there's gunshots instead of an actual car, like, I'm not going to go peek out my window and see what's happening, right? See if that's a car or if it's a gun. And as I have shared this with some of my constituents in other districts out in the Southeast Nashville, everyone in Southeast Nashville is like, yes, we definitely need this. We just need to make sure that it gets enforced.
I'm on Dickerson, so it's just full drag races and pow, pow, pow all day long.
But Tasha, how would you
So
actually
it's a real
enforce
thing.
this?
Oh, it's a very
real
real thing, but it is a good question. How would you?
Well, for one thing is that in the bill, I'm asking that NDOT, the mayor's office, put up signs outside of as you go into a residential area that says, hey, this is the noise ordinance, right? And believe it or not, a lot of people use Hub Nashville, and Hub Nashville is a source for you to file a complaint. And so there are people that would be willing to say, it's this color car, this time of day, and this is their license tag. And the other thing is that we finally, after 20 years, we have our new police precinct that's about to come online in September. Right?
In Southeast.
In
yes.
Southeast Nashville. And so, like, these are the types of issues that we want our police officers to address.
All right. And then real quick, before we go to good news, we want to just say, speaking of loud cars, Marsha Blackburn has entered the chat and has announced
Marsha.
Gubernatorial bid.
Yeah.
Marie, you love that word?
Gubernatorial. I love it.
We all knew it was coming. This isn't a surprise. But there was something in her video announcement that caught your eye, Marie?
Planes, trains, or starships will deport illegal aliens because respect for the law starts with enforcing it. That's what Marsha said in her video announcement.
So this is like, you know how President Trump thinks that people seeking asylum are like Hannibal Lecter because they've come from asylums, mental asylums? Do we think that Marsha thinks that, quote, illegal aliens, a horrible term that people should stop using, need to go back to space?
There's no telling, Whitney.
You know, I limit my intake of the news that I take in. So I was reading, the daily newsletters that I get into my email box. And just when I thought that, okay, so we know what we're dealing with today, let's move forward, Marsha comes in like, hold my beer, cue Trump.
Beer.
It was awful. And so I tell you, what immediately came to mind is the Haley Williams song with Justin Jones in it.
Yes. Let's take a quick break because we're going to get into that first thing in good news. Stay with us, people. Good news.
I'm so glad, Tasha, that you brought up Haley Williams' new song, Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party, the music video that debuted.
What a title.
I know, truly, for Nashville. And Justin Jones is in this video, and it just highlights locations all over our town. But Tasha, what does this song mean to you?
It means that, as she says, we can only go up from here.
Yeah.
Right? It means that people here in Nashville still belong, and we can still out and go enjoy things in our city. And it's just a really sense of community and belonging is what I got from that song. And despite how bad it gets, we can only go up from here.
Woo!
And it's right there in that first line. And this is our challenge to all of you for this weekend. Go be the biggest star.
Yes.
At some racist country singer's bar.
This is how we fight as artists, musicians, Nashvillians. Make music, make art. Like, it's just beautiful. So,
but can I tell you about a really cool joint that we have in our district where it's not racist?
Happening?
It's totally fun. So there is a new place called, well, it's not new. It's new to me. It's called Papa Turney's Barbecue Joint at Nashville Shores. It's like a hole in the wall type vibe, kind of gives Santa's Pup. But they are having this Saturday night, and most weekends they have a blues jam station, live music, really good barbecue. Everyone in there is friendly, and it's the opposite of Broadway.
ooh,
I'm obsessed.
Yes, we're gonna
But
check that out.
here's the qualifier. Of course, you'll get your beverage of choice. Your ID has to say that you've been in Nashville for at least 2 years or more.
Woo!
Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
I was like, oh my gosh.
I was like,
That is actually incredible.
Holy crap.
Oh, I love that.
Well, there was good news on Broadway, depending on how you're looking at it. Well, you know how much we all love Roberts here at CityCast Nashville, especially Marie. Earlier this week, it was announced that Jack's Barbecue, the building right next door, and also something that has been on Lower Broad and an anchor for a long, long time, has sold to the owners of Roberts for $15 million. The Jack's on Charlotte and Trinity will still exist, but Roberts is going to absorb that property and make it bigger so that we can actually have more space to hear the incredible musicians that play there. Marie, it's your favorite place on earth. Do you love this news?
I was shocked.
Wait, you like it better than Friends in Low Places?
I've never been to Friends in Low Places. I'm so sorry. I'm always at Roberts. I was shocked by this news because we heard that there was going to be some expansion, but I thought it was like going up because they had like an office and the roof or whatever, but sideways, let's go.
Yeah, I'm super into it. And then last but not least for this weekend, it is Whitney's favorite day of the year. Everybody, it's Tomato Art Fest starting tonight and all day tomorrow here in East Nashville in 5 Points, a celebration of our very favorite fruit/vegetable. It's a uniter, not a divider, and a reminder that we all come from the same vine.
Oh.
There's so much going on out there. If you're a huge Bloody Mary aficionado, you want to buy tickets to that Bloody Mary garden party. Those start at $55, but that does include full-size Bloody Marys, mimosas, and a fully loaded garnish bar. So worth it.
Nice.
There's also going to be concerts. Andrew Leahy and the Homestead are headlining the main stage on Saturday night. There's always great bands on 11th Street down closer to the shops on Fatherland. And then there's also all kinds of contests. So there's fashion shows. There's a bobbing for tomatoes contest on Saturday from 10 to 1:30.
Gross.
They do say that dogs are welcome. And I think having a separate tank for dogs to bob for tomatoes would be adorbs. But I would say it's going to be hot. Don't bring your dog. They're just going to be walking around on asphalt. And we did miss a boat with this year. And this is a message to Smoothie King's corporate office. Heinz
Who
and
now
Smoothie
has
King.
ketchup smoothies, right?
Yes.
Yes, this is what we're saying.
Insane.
They didn't bring them here.
That's
They're in Atlanta.
crazy.
There's a Smoothie King at the end of my street here in East Nashville. Oh no, I just doxed myself. Why would you not have a ketchup smoothie there on Tomato Fest weekend
They missed the boat.
in East Nashville? I don't understand.
Also gross.
know.
I don't want to catch them.
This has
I
been
wonder
great.
if the Tomato Fest would still exist if you all took on this whole density plan.
Oh.
Honey, again, when's the last time you came over here? There is plenty of quadplex, multiplex, condo, high-rise living in and around 5 Points. And it enables people to purchase a home that is walkable to all kinds of amazing things like the Tomato Art Festival. You got to come out, Tasha. Get out the airport fields and get over here.
I do like a good Tomato Fest booth.
And hey, everybody, last thing before we go, happy retirement to astronaut Butch Wilmore.
Oh,
He's
wave at the moon
from
in
NASA.
honor of
Wave
him.
at the moon. He's back on Earth, but
After
we're so
9
happy,
months
Butch,
in
you deserve
space.
it. Yeah,
Bless his sweetheart.
enjoy your time off, buddy.
You deserved it. Thank you
You've
again.
earned it.
Yeah, Tasha, thank you so much. We'll have you on again very soon.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about how being a good neighbor is important.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have some neighborhood shout outs. So yeah, the deal is if you join our membership program, CityCast Nashville Neighbor, you too can shout out any local business or nonprofit of your choice each week here on CityCast Nashville. So today I have Ginny W. shouting out Radio Free Nashville, Nashville's first community radio station fighting for democracy with music and news every day. Be sure to check out radiofreenashville.org. Next shout out is from Judith T. Judith is shouting out Community Care Fellowship, works with unhoused people, offering meals, showers, laundry, and temporary housing to help them find permanent housing as quickly as possible. CCF serves up to 5,000 people with basic needs and hundreds with housing assistance each year. So check out ccfnashville.org. And our last shout out, last but not least, from Darren J., shouting out the Tennessee Equality Project, TEP for short, advocates for LGBTQIA+ folks across Tennessee through legislative advocacy at the state and local levels. Critically, it also provides education and training to help people feel equipped to advocate for themselves and their communities. Check out tnep.org. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pastorak. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury. And our theme music is by Prop Jenkins, with additional music by Anders Fobb from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!